Hello,
Hello,
and welcome to Right on Time
with me, Sara.
with me, Megan. And this is our first time ever doing a podcast.
Yeah, like disclaimer, we are rookies.
This is nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
We're nervy. We have gone through a lot of practices in the car before we got here.
I feel like we've gone through a journey this year and I feel like I'm a little bit more nervous and
Nervous.
scared about this. It's very vulnerable, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think having all these cameras.
Yeah, daunting.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't want to be a celebrity.
I mean, I feel like the money would help. I don't know.
The money would definitely help. So why don't we start off with who we are, why we're here, why we're doing this podcast, and
How we met.
How we met.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first?
Okay. My name's Sara. I am 31. I have been married for just over a year to my husband, Ryan. We were together for 6 years before we got married. 7 years this year. We have a dog called Chester, my firstborn. Little boy, he's a little cavapoo. And he's the light of my life. Little darling.
He knows it.
And he knows it, yeah, he's very spoiled. And we had our first baby this year. His name is Felix. He is now 4 months old.
I love his name.
Well, he's 20 weeks, but corrected 10 weeks old.
Okay.
And what about you?
So I'm Megan. I'm 32. So a year older. I'm definitely not wiser. I definitely feel, I just turned 32 and I feel like 52. But yeah, I'm a first time mum to Blake. And he was born on the 19th of May this year. He was 9 weeks early. So he is roughly just over 5 months, but really 3.
Yep.
Thereabouts. I'm also a mum to Nellie, so our first baby, a golden retriever, who's definitely still the baby in our house, even though we have Blake.
She's a darling.
She is. And she's definitely adjusting to having to share, that's for sure. I am 3 years, or nearly 3 years married come March, which is mad, to Paul, but also known as Godsey, to everybody except me. And that's another conversation. And he's not called Godsey because he thinks he's God, just to be clear. I feel like that's another conversation. And I feel like you have to give the down low on the fact that you're going to refer to Ryan.
I don't refer to Ryan as this name, but you will. I know
definitely
you will.
I'm going to call him.
So Ryan's nickname is Soup.
Do you want to give a rundown of why?
Because boys are idiots. I don't know.
No,
our second name is Baxter. So Baxter's Soup.
Anyway, so yeah, that is us a bit of in a nutshell. I think, yeah, we're first time mums. And this, as I said, this is new space for us, new territory. And how did we meet?
So Megan's already mentioned that her little boy was 9 weeks early, and my little boy was 10 weeks early, and we met in the neonatal unit.
Yeah, at Simpsons.
At Simpsons Royal Infirmary.
Mm-hmm.
Infirmary? Wow, can't talk. Infirmary.
Yeah.
That's how we met. And we became really good friends. We really bonded over it. And I feel like we'll get into all of this story more, but it's like we were meant to meet a little bit.
Kindred spirits almost.
Yeah.
Like I wrote a post on my Instagram about how as much as I would love to change our experience and not have walked through some of the experience that we have had, I also wouldn't either because our paths would never have crossed.
Yeah.
I met Sara in the NICU. We were, well, as a family, so Paul, Blake and I had been in the NICU for 4 weeks already at that point. And we were probably really in the trenches at that stage when you guys came in. And I just remember Sara coming in. She's going to laugh when I say this. She had just had a C-section and...
Oh, God.
Firstly, Ryan looked like a deer in headlights, which I could massively relate to because I remember seeing Paul and thinking, oh my gosh, you've got the world on your shoulders. And Ryan was exactly the same. And then Sara, having had a C-section, turning up in these most glamorous pajamas I have ever seen. And I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, how does she look so good after just giving birth and having a C-section and having a premature baby and having a little bit of an insight into already what you'll have been through? But she looked so glam. You had this beautiful red headband. I just remember vividly. And you just came in and I remember thinking, good on you, girl.
Oh, that's really nice. I mean, I think I was walking about in a whole daze and like could only see right in front of me, just tunnel vision, until maybe 2 days later, and then I maybe noticed you guys, because you were like you were the first bed, like the first incubator area when you walked in the door, and I remember thinking, God, she doesn't look like she's had a baby recently. Like I thought, God, she's so skinny.
So that is the only, right, genuinely the only upside to having polyhydramnios, and we'll come on to this at another stage in another episode, I'm sure. So for those that don't know what polyhydramnios is, it's excess fluid. Did I ever tell you this?
No.
Oh, so I had polyhydramnios because of Blake, and just with, I guess, the type of pregnancy I had, which meant I had excess amniotic fluid. So I was humongous, even, which is why I think I went into preterm labour.
Oh, I did not know any of this.
Yeah, so I was humongous, and actually a lot of it was just fluid. So when my waters actually went, and then when I did give birth to Blake,
all of it left.
it just left. To the point when my waters broke, Paul was like, "Where's your pump go?"
Really?
Like, honestly, it was the strangest thing ever. It was really bizarre. But yeah, I do think my body almost like was just holding fluid rather than baby.
Yeah.
That makes sense, which maybe made it slightly easier. I don't know.
Who knows?
I still felt like a Buddha. So if you think I looked great, I'll take that.
Yeah, I thought you looked great.
Feel
I'm pretty sure Ryan said that as well. He's like, God, there's women in there that don't look like they've had a baby.
I think because they're smaller.
Yeah.
Partly that's that.
Yeah,
why.
maybe.
But anyway, you were there for a few days, and somebody gave me really good advice. I met one of the trustees for the NICU, and she said, if there's one bit of parting advice I want to give you, her son had been in the NICU, it's that exchange numbers with somebody who's walked through your journey, somebody who has walked through your shoes and is still maybe walking through your shoes, because at some point you're going to need that person, because what you're going through is such a unique journey that not everybody can relate to that.
Right. Well, thank you, trustee, because this is...
There we go.
We have it all to you.
So I grabbed you in the corridor one day.
No, we were in the expressing room.
I don't think I got your number then.
No, don't think we got the number then, but that's the first time we spoke.
Yeah, we're in the express room.
Yeah, which is another story.
Yeah, it's all together. When you go through the NICU, I'd imagine this is the same for most people. They really push
Yeah.
expressing. And they had this room that was quite a...
Looking back, it wasn't that nice, but at the time I thought, oh, this is okay.
It's cosy.
Yeah.
But it's quite a dour room to be in. And they have these seats that are positioned almost...
Facing each wall, so away from each other. And
you've got these breast pumps
you're
on.
just hooked up to a machine, milking away.
Yeah, and I remember just saying hi. And then we got chatting, and then we unintentionally would end up in the same express room, pumping. So
the same schedule, weren't we?
We were on time, right on time.
Right on time. We were on the same schedule.
And we became pumping pals.
Pumping buddies.
Yeah, literally. So that's how we met. And also, that's probably a good segue into why we named the podcast Right on Time.
Yes.
It has a lot of meanings.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of... It works out really well because I actually thought of it, didn't I? I said it, and then you had said that's what I wrote on my announcement post when Blake was here.
I did, yeah.
Which is just a strange coincidence as well.
Yeah.
Because at this point, I don't even think I had really stalked your Instagram, let's say.
No.
I hadn't went back and had a wee stalk. But yeah.
Yeah. I'd said Blake arrived 9 weeks early, but right on time.
So there you go.
So our boys, even though they were early,
they were right on time. The universe wanted them to come, and that's how it went.
Yeah.
And
we want this podcast to kind of, the right on time concept started there. But actually, I think as first time mums, regardless of whether you've got a preemie baby or not, I think a huge part of this journey is the milestones.
Yeah.
You know, the development. And actually, no matter when your baby or you as a person, regardless of milestones, when you go through your own personal journey, whenever you hit those milestones, they happen at the right time.
Yeah, you need to trust the universe.
Yeah.
And I think as well with this podcast, it's not niche to mums that have and parents that have had premature babies. It's really just how we might have had a different journey, but at some point we're all going to sync up and experience the same things.
Yeah.
Whether it's a bit later, whether it's early. It's all going to come together and we have so much in common, even though it is so drastically different.
A sisterhood.
Yeah. And I think we don't want to just niche it to NICU life.
No.
Even though that's a massive part of it for us.
That's the start of our journey.
Yeah, for us. Exactly. And we're just going to see how this goes, and hopefully this can generate some hope, because when I was in there, I love listening to podcasts. Like when I'm cooking dinner, when I'm driving, when I'm in the shower, like I listen to podcasts all the time. And when this happened to me, I thought I need to gather as much information as I can, and I need to hear of other stories, hear of people that have went through this and are okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I searched for it, and it was you that said that you had searched as well.
There was nothing out there that was what you were looking for.
Yeah.
And hoping for.
Just normal people who have been through it and have came out the other end.
Yeah.
Like,
and the realities of it. I think the one thing you will find in this podcast is that we are going to be unapologetically ourselves.
Yes.
We're going to be real. We're going to be transparent. And
we've already lost our dignity once.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It's not going to come back, so we might as well just keep going.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of a little bit about us, how the podcast, I guess, the Right on Time concept came about, how we met.
We spoke about a podcast because we voice noted a lot, like a lot, during those months.
Still do.
Still do. And we thought every time that we got together, even in person, I always thought, God, we should have a microphone in front of us.
Yeah.
And just
because... Not because we love the sound of our own voice.
Yeah, not
that's
because...
Actually, yeah.
Not conceited.
Yeah.
Because I definitely don't want to listen back to this.
No.
But because it's such an emotional journey, and it's quite educational. Like, I'm still learning a lot about your story. We're new friends, so there's
a lot that's going to come out of this.
Yeah.
Like, oh, really? Like earlier, you were like, did not know that.
Yeah. It's one of those things that we're still continuously learning, and this journey isn't linear. Like, I still have hospital appointments. You still have like, just because you're out of the NICU and home with your baby, it doesn't end.
No.
And I'm pretty sure that's the same with any parent. It doesn't matter if your child is preemie or not. Like, you're going to have
your
things
learning
that come
curve,
up.
and it is steep.
Yeah. So we wanted to just give hope to those parents that are in the trenches right now as well, and like, look, we're laughing about it now. I mean, we might be laughing through the trauma, and a lot of things might come up here. It might be cathartic for us.
We have got hankies, people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm a weeper.
Ready.
I am a weeper.
Yeah.
I will tell you that. Every time I see Megan, I cry. So enjoy me.
But we laugh a lot.
Sniffling.
So we do cry, we laugh, and we said we want to bring the voice notes
to life.
To life.
We want you to feel like you're part of our group chat.
Yeah.
If you're going through it right now.
Yeah. And the idea has come out the group chat. So
yeah, well done us.
Even if this only just goes to episode 1, I'm proud of us for getting here.
Yeah.
Kudos.
Well done us.
Yeah.
Proud.
All right. So quick fire round question set, right?
Right.
Just to quickly get to know each other a little bit deeper. What made you pick your baby's name?
I'm going to be real here. I just looked up some lists like online and on TikTok. I doom scrolled forever.
Did they have a middle name?
Yes, he does have. The story with the middle name is a little bit different because I wasn't going to do middle names. Mm-hmm. So my baby's name is Felix, William, and that's his middle name. Felix came about, I just wanted something that was a bit different but wasn't like, you know, I don't know what, pilot inspector. Like, do you know what I mean? Something really weird. That's the guy from My Name's Earl's son's name. Pilot. Really?
I was just like, why did you think of that?
Just because that is the weirdest celebrity child name I could think of, sorry. But like, I didn't want something too out there. But I wanted still a name that was maybe a little bit unique and you don't really hear it as much. So that's where Felix came from. William is after my dad. But we weren't going to do a middle name at first, so I was kind of against it. I thought, I don't want to upset anyone, like, by giving one the name and not another.
Names in the family you could use.
Yeah. But I have a middle name and I never use it, so that was another thing. And mine doesn't have a middle name. So I thought, well, what's the point? But last minute I thought, do you know what? My brother, his fiancée has 3 sisters, so there's 4 girls in her family. And I thought maybe there won't be another chance to have his name as a middle name. Do you know?
Yeah.
And I thought we might not get that. So it was literally like the week before he was born.
That as well.
Yeah, he was a little bit
taken aback.
he just didn't really react. I think he was that much in shock about everything that's happened.
To give you nothing.
Nothing, exactly. He just kind of was like Felix. He didn't register. I had said William.
Oh.
And then when he gave me a text later on that night and was like, sorry, I didn't really react to that. I think I was just really overwhelmed. So, and he obviously is chuffed.
That's nice.
But yeah, so that was a long-winded way to say his name's Felix William.
Cool.
What about you?
Similar with Blake, we had our second name is God's Man. And I have to say it like God's Man.
AKA Godsey.
AKA Godsey. That's where Godsey comes from. And we really struggle, which is really, I always get baffled by it, but people really struggle with their second name. I get like Goodsman, Godman. Like
Really?
honestly, I have to like God's Man. So we were both agreed it had to be a name that was short, punchy,
Yeah.
couldn't be confused.
One syllable.
Yeah. And then we drilled it down to a couple of like names, and then Blake, funnily enough, was never on that list. We had like
okay.
3 names, Blake was never on it. And then almost probably just before we found out the gender, I remember saying to Paul, I really like the name Blake. Just kind of sprung to me. There was a boy in my school, going back a long time ago, he was the only boy in the whole school called Blake.
Yeah.
And I remember at the time thinking, that's a cool name.
Yeah.
But I liked it for a girl and a boy. So I was
Yeah.
like, well, whichever gender, I quite like it. Anyway, when I went into preterm labour, I remember like Paul rushing down
Yeah,
the road.
you need to make a decision quick.
Yeah.
That's what we thought too. We're like, oh God,
Yeah.
we need to actually design this now.
And he arrived, because this is a story for later on, but yeah, Paul was actually 4 and a bit hours away when I was in preterm labour.
Really?
Mhm.
See, I didn't know that either. There you go.
Yeah. And
God, that's scary.
yeah,
Right.
he was up for a cycling race in Inverness. I know, it's mad. I was at the all the times to go into preterm
I know.
labour. This would not be
No.
it. Anyway, so when he came into the room, he turned around and he was like, you get to pick. And it was as if to be like, you're going to go through this and I'm with you, so you get to pick.
Oh,
and
that's
it's not
nice.
going to lie though, I think he secretly hoped I'd be like, oh, I'm going to pick the other name.
Which was? Are you going to reveal
Oh
that?
yeah, I don't mind. It was Zach, which when I look back now, I'm like, oh, I'm really glad we didn't pick that.
Mm.
But it was going to be Zach, Zach Godsman. And then I just looked at him and I was like, it's Blake, it's nothing else. And then he does have a middle name. And his middle name, a bit like you, is named after somebody. So Blake's full name is Blake Kent Godsman.
Wow, that's a strong name.
And
Kent.
a bit different.
That sounds like an old Western Hollywood star.
So my papa, so like my granddad, I called him Papa. He was called Andrew Kent Crawford.
Right. So it's his middle name.
So it's his middle name, which was his mum's maiden name.
Oh,
So
okay.
it kind of carries on the lineage a little
Yeah.
bit. So yeah, that's where it came from.
It's a very strong name.
Strong name. Funniest moment of being a mum. Quick.
Oh, I have no idea. I've got a lot of things that happened to Ryan that I think it's funny.
No, it's about being a mum, but go for it.
Me, I'm going to say when you've went through a bath and he's all nice and clean, you get him out and he just pees all over you, shits all over you, and is sick at the same time. So there you go. That's happened to me.
Best part. Okay, I wrote this down actually last night because I had a few funny moments, but this one has to be one of the lowest moments as well as a funny one. We were in the hospital and one of Blake's surgeons, who I have a lot of time for, was chatting away to me quite the thing. I'm holding Blake and I'm like, I can smell something. And I can see his surgeon just looking at us like at the eye. And it was almost like he didn't want to look down. And I was like, this is like, you sense awkwardness. And I was like, what am I smelling? And I just was like, oh my God, he has pooed all over me, any bits. And I just looked down. And as I looked down, I saw his surgeon also look down.
Oh no.
And it was, and I mean, all over my jumper. And it was a black jumper, but it was just yellow, like awful. Like, yeah, korma yellow all over me. And then the worst bit is I had no change of clothes or anything. And he still continued to have the same conversation with me for a further, for 20 odd minutes.
Oh.
As I'm still standing with poo all over me.
And you're just locking eyes like, I know you know.
Yeah, this is happening. Like,
Yeah.
Anyway, in hindsight, I should have been like, I'm really sorry. Do you give me a minute? I just need to like clean myself up. But anyway, that's a funny moment. Lowest moment.
Are we doing lowest? Okay.
Yeah, lowest moment of being a mum so far.
Oh, is that including the NICU? Like, because I
Any
feel like
moment.
that whole point,
Yeah.
there was one, in the NICU journey, there was one point that we went to Ryan's family's house for dinner one night, whilst Felix was obviously still in the Royal. And dinner was fine. I got through it, and then I had to go upstairs and express again. And I came downstairs, and you know what? I just thought, I need to get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, oh God, I'm going to get emotional now. I literally just cried, like, but I didn't want to cry in front of everyone, so I like just took myself outside.
Mm-hmm.
God, yeah, crying now, thinking about it. Sorry, I told you I was a weeper.
I
Told
remember you
ya.
told me about that though.
Yeah, that was
You
my
voice
lowest
noted
point.
me, and you were like, "This is just to carry on and pretend everything's okay."
Like everyone's just getting on with their normal lives.
Mm-hmm.
God, 5 minutes into this and I'm crying already.
Yes, it's you, not me first.
Here we go.
But that's so normal, right?
Yeah. And then,
People don't talk about that.
what's yours?
Oh. So, I put some thought behind this. Purely because I think there's probably a lot of lows in my journey.
Yeah.
The one that's strange, so there's two. One that I feel has to be the lowest point, but strangely, and I don't know if it's just because the way that trauma works, I don't think it's fully hit me yet.
Yeah.
Potentially. But the other one that really first came into my mind, and it still gets me in, like, you know, the jugular, you just get,
Yeah, you're welling up.
Mm-hmm.
Get the tissues out.
and I'm just going to lightly touch on it because I think I would get really emotional with it, is, she flips her hair as she says it. We obviously got told post one of, Blake's biggest surgery.
I thought this was going to be the one you were going to say.
And I think this is what I mean about trauma not completely kicking in
Yeah.
yet.
When you say it out loud, it's when you have to say it out loud.
Blake had a surgery 4 weeks post-birth, and it was a big surgery. And he had a really, really bad complication, which resulted in a pneumothorax, which basically, without going into too much medical jargon, is really, really dangerous for a newborn, and meant that he had too much fluid on his lungs and his lungs were collapsing. And we got told that he might not make the weekend. And that, for me, when I say that out loud, I still visualise myself when that exact surgeon said that to me.
Yeah.
And that surgeon, for the record, weirdly, even though he gave me one of the most horrendous pieces of information, I will be forever and eternally grateful. His name is Mr. Phil Hammond, and I'm putting his name out there because he saved Blake's life that weekend. And he deserves a shout out, because without Phil Hammond, Blake would not be here, along with Paul Cullis, who I'm sure I'll talk about at some point, and I hope he doesn't make me mention his name, who's Blake's paediatric surgeon. But both of them...
We'll beep that out if
We can
you're
beep
not
it out
happy.
if you're not happy. Both of them are, and will be, our heroes
Yeah,
forever. But yeah, that has to be a low point. And that's what
understandably.
hearing that and preparing yourself for what might have come. But thankfully, he turned a corner. Yeah, they are those two. They're just absolute heroes in my eyes. So yeah, they're the low points.
That was quick fire, by the way.
Sorry, that was meant to be 5 minutes, and that was a long 5 minutes. Right now, what is your favourite go-to baby product?
Dancing fruits.
Oh,
It's not a product, but dancing fruits saves lives.
Every time. We can do a wee link on, like, underneath. And like,
It's not sponsored in any way,
not
shape, or form.
sponsored. So I would say right now would be our Lumi white noise machine.
Yeah, white noise.
If you
is a big
haven't
one.
got it, go and get it. It saves lives. It saves sleep. It gives you sleep.
Yeah,
And gives you sanity.
yeah, white noise for the win.
There we go. Can't live without them. All right. So we're going to jump into episode 1,
The actual topic
the
of
actual
today.
topic of today, and we're going to talk about you. We're going to talk about you and your birth story,
Yes.
your journey to motherhood, and I want to do a bit of a trigger warning
Yeah.
before we go into this. We're going to talk about probably quite some deep, heavy stuff.
Yeah. Preterm labour, childbirth in general. Yeah. So,
The highs, the lows, and everything in between.
yep. Neonatal units. If this is one thing I will say about this whole podcast, if you find yourself listening to this and you're not ready to listen to it, if anything that we are saying is too raw for you guys,
That's
stop
okay.
listening. Like, don't do it to yourself. Come back when you're ready, because you will be ready.
Right on time.
Yeah, you will be ready at one point. I promise you that. Okay, so where should we start from the very beginning of like getting pregnant?
I was going to ask you a question, so I have written down my questions.
Oh, okay. She's prepared.
She's yeah. So my first question to you, right?
Right.
So taking it right back to the very beginning, not about falling pregnant so much, but what did you think about birth before you actually gave birth? What was your thoughts about it?
Oh, I was terrified. I would have been like, I think
How
that was.
did you feel about labour before it actually happened? Excuse my snuffling. I have got a cold. Apologies.
I was a little bit. I'm two types of people. This is where my Gemini comes in. You have like the terrified, oh my God, overthinking everything, worry, what. And then I have like a kind of pragmatic, like everyone does this. Women do this all the time. It's going to have to happen.
You
can do it. Yeah, we can do it.
Yeah.
Stop being a wuss and just let's go. For me, that was me pumping myself up for it. That was my thought. I had two different thought processes. Like I didn't have a birth plan because I thought, look, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And
which is
sure,
healthy, I think.
yeah, sure enough, here we are.
Yeah.
Like
we often used to say to each other, if we had a birth plan, because neither of us did, that might have made what happened
even more devastating. Yeah,
because
you hear of people that have right choices that they want, and then it doesn't happen. They're really disappointed.
I remember one of my midwives saying to me, she had a mum who came in and was like, "Here's 3 A4 pages of my birth plan.
Really,
follow it." And the midwife was like, "None of this is going to happen."
I know. That's the thing.
Yeah.
If you just, I thought ignorance is bliss here. That's what I kind of thought. Let's just go in with an open mind. It's going to happen how it's going to happen.
And how were you generally in your pregnancy?
Totally fine. Like, I had a sore back. I had like those kind of things, insomnia. Like I had all of those generic pregnancy symptoms, which is everything, by the way. Like I had a sty at one point and I Googled it and they were like, yeah, that's a symptom of pregnancy. And you're like, what? A sty? God. Like my arm could be hanging off and they would be like,
that's related to pregnancy.
Broke your arm. Pregnancy. Like honestly, anything could be pregnancy. Any pregnant women out there, you do it. You go. Like you are superheroes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a sore back and
I'm with you.
Sciatica and stuff like that. But generally I was okay. First trimester, very sick.
Oh right, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was really quite sick. It was rough. But like I was physically sick. It was rough. Like even just the wind hitting my face made me feel sick.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that was rough, but around 15 weeks I felt better.
Yeah. And then when, I guess on the lead up, so just remind us, and for the sake of the podcast, how far along were you when you had Felix?
So I was 30 weeks and 4 days when Felix arrived.
And I guess on the lead up to that, you'd had your normal scans, everything was fine.
Everything was normal. I had one moment when I was very, very early pregnant, I think it was like 4 or 5 weeks, where I passed a large blood clot. Wasn't in any pain. I wouldn't even have noticed if I hadn't looked in the toilet. And I phoned the early pregnancy unit and they said, what kind of size is it? Is it bigger? And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, is it bigger than a 20 pence piece? And I was like, yes, it's like a cream egg. It's like size, I don't know. Like,
did you say that to her on the phone?
Yeah, I was like, I don't know, it's like a cream egg size.
Was it near Easter? Is that why you thought cream egg?
No, just similar sizes, I don't know.
And also, one thing I would say, right, here, and we've often said this to each other, is that I don't think people appreciate or realise that there are early pregnancy units out there.
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't know that existed, did you?
Not until we needed it at some point.
Yeah.
But I don't think people know that. So that is important to realise. If you are somebody who is early in your pregnancy, you've just fallen pregnant, or you're trying, there are in most hospitals an early pregnancy unit. People don't talk about it until you phone your midwife or your GP and they say, oh, refer you.
Yeah.
But if you are somebody who's really struggling with anxiety, or you've got things that you're just like, is this normal?
Yeah.
Because a lot of it is this normal? So many
and they'll turn around and say, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Because your arm could be coming off and it's pregnancy.
But actually, I think that's something worth knowing.
Yeah.
and you can get a scan and whatnot.
Well, I was expecting them to say come in, but they said to me, well, nothing would be picked up on a scan. Like, you're too early. And they basically told me, take a test next week and see if you're still pregnant.
That must have been horrendous.
Yeah, I was really, and I hadn't told my mum, I hadn't told anyone yet, except from Ryan, obviously. So I was really worried, obviously. But what they did say on the phone is like, it probably is just a hematoma, which is just a bit of bruising, because it's quite an aggressive thing, like the egg attaching to the wall, and it can create a blood bruise, and that's that just coming away, which thankfully that's what it was.
Yeah.
I booked an early scan at one of these private clinics, and at 6 weeks, and everything was fine. So that was my only kind of moment of like, oh my God. And then...
When did things change?
Yeah, when did things change? So...
And what, I'm curious, when did things change and you obviously started to feel different? What made you think, I need to get this checked?
Well, I had a little bit of like, just a tiny bit of bloody discharge one morning. So I thought, I'll phone the pregnancy unit, the day unit. And they said, come in, we'll just check you over. I said, right, I wasn't in any pain or anything. I was fine. I just thought this is a little bit unusual. Went in, they scanned me, monitored him, everything was fine. The guy checked me out, like the doctor, had an internal. He just said, you're still really closed, like everything's fine. You've maybe just lost a little bit of your mucus plug because he's getting bigger and moving about. And I said, right, okay, cool. So they sent me home. 2 weeks later, I woke up on the Tuesday and Wednesday morning a little bit wet. But again, I thought, well, pregnancy. I didn't think my waters had broke because it wasn't throughout the day, nothing like that. It was just in the morning.
And it wasn't something like you'd seen in like a movie. Where
Yeah,
it's like
it wasn't a
massive
gush.
rush.
It wasn't anything like that.
Yeah.
It was literally just a little bit. This is very graphic.
Yeah, apologies. We did give you a trigger warning.
Yeah. So a little bit wet. And then on the Thursday, I got up, went to the toilet, and what I now know was my bloody show, was my mucus plug that I had lost. So that was when I was like, right, because it was quite a lot. So I phoned the labour ward again, and they said, yep, come in. So I phoned Ryan, he was at his work. I said, I'm just going to go and get checked out. Again, I wasn't in pain, I was fine. Like, I just thought it was going to be the same thing again. They were just going to tell me to go home. Phoned my mum and said, can you come in with me? She said, yeah,
Mum.
yeah, to the rescue. So I drove down to her house. I went down, and to be fair, she was flapping about a bit.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, she was just flying
I
about.
can't imagine your mum flapping about. I think you should have her like.
I went in, she was just like eating her toast and that, and I was like, I need to go to the hospital. Like, she just was kind of like, oh yeah, I thought we were going to wait until the dogs got picked up for their dog walk. And I'm like, just put them in the hut and tell her, that, like, we have a little office hut outside. I was like, put them in there and the dog walker will get them. And when I was walking to the car, she was like, you're walking funny, Sarah. Like that. I was like, no, I'm not. I'm fine. I was like, don't be silly. Let's go. Got into the car, and when we were driving to the hospital, I was kind of thinking, I'm getting like little period-like pains.
Okay, like
Low.
cramps.
I wouldn't even say cramps. I'd say like dull aches.
Okay.
Like maybe in the week up to your period, that kind of feeling. And I was just thinking, that's a bit weird. But then again, pregnancy, like you get like weird cramps all the way through it.
And there's so much where when you particularly are first time mum,
Yeah, you don't
know. You don't know any different. You're like, is this a norm? Is this just like the next trimester?
If I was not pregnant, I wouldn't have even mentioned it or noticed it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I didn't say anything at this point because I thought, whatever. Like,
No point.
It's not going to be anything bad.
Yeah.
We got to the hospital. They got me all hooked up, monitored. Wee man's running about inside, totally fine. Like, you know what I mean, kicking and whatever.
Having
he's
a real of a time.
totally fine. That's the thing. He was moving about, so I wasn't worried.
Yeah.
Either. I could still feel him. He was totally fine. And then my mum said my face kept changing every time, like, I would get these dull aches. And she was like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, and I kind of said I'm getting these wee dull aches.
Yeah.
And she was just like, right. And then the midwife came in and was like, are you okay? Like, how are you doing? And my mum had said she's getting these dull aches. And she went, and I've actually been timing them.
So your
And I
mum
was
said
kind of,
this.
yeah, she already kind of thought.
Yeah.
And I kind of looked at her and I was like, oh, don't be daft. Like, come on.
Also, that great though that she did do that.
Yeah.
Right?
And they were 7 minutes apart. And the midwife said to me, do you think you could be in early labour? And I was like, well, you tell me. I don't know.
As if you know.
I was like, I've never done this before. This is your job. I don't know. I was like, no.
But I think that's a really like valid point to make as well, right? Midwives will ask you that a lot of questions, but the reason I think a lot of them ask that question is you know your body better than anybody else.
Yeah, like they're obviously doing their job and they're great, but I'm kind of like, I have no idea.
But it's the way that they do it. Like, do you think you're like, I have no clue?
I've never done this before, so
and
I
also
don't know.
I think you sit there and you second guess yourself, being like, well, could I be? Like,
yeah, but I was totally like, nah, no chance.
Yeah, I'm going to get home for my dinner.
Yeah, like I honestly thought they were just going to say, yeah, it's the same as last time.
Yeah, nothing.
So then they got me sorted for an internal with a doctor and they were going to do swabs.
Yeah.
I still don't really know what these swabs were for, but they were going to do that. So I sat down or lay down on the bed and the women doctor came in and literally kind of moved the light a little bit and her face kind of changed and then just went, I'm going to abandon this. And I was like, right? And she went, because you're 2 centimetres dilated.
I didn't realise she said it in quite that way.
Yeah, she just went, I'm going to abandon this.
You're like, oh God, what's going on?
And I was kind of like, what? And she went, you're 2 centimetres dilated. And I was like,
how did you...
Sorry?
How did you feel? Like,
Panic.
what was the first thing that you think went through your mind?
Panic at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I honestly just, because like I said, I thought I was going to go home. Like, and it was all going to be fine. And I kind of just thought, nah. And I had a little panic then. And like, my eyes just started watering. I had a little cry. Mm-hmm. But that cry lasted 2 minutes. And I literally was like, right. Mm-hmm. And my dad phoned my mum at this very point. And I was like, don't answer it. I was like, don't tell him because he'll panic as well.
Yeah.
And they were like, we're going to go and get you sorted at the labour ward. We'll make sure there's a room, blah, blah, blah. We'll come back up and get you. And I was kind of like...
So they were going to... and also just for
They did tell me not to panic as well. They were like, it's okay, it's okay.
You went to your local hospital where you were intended to give birth.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And then I went downstairs. They got me in a wheelchair and got me downstairs to the labour ward. And I'm in this big suite with a pool, like I'm like one of those big baths. I'm sitting there in the bed. It was huge. And I'm thinking, what is happening? Like, and then...
So you're probably sitting thinking, well, I'm going to give birth here.
Well, not... See, even at this point, I still didn't register I was going to give birth. I think I was completely delusional. Like, because they tell you in all these antenatal classes and midwife appointments that they can delay birth.
Which they can.
So I was kind of like, they're going to give me something to delay this. Like, I fully believed that.
Yeah.
And then...
So from there on, I guess at that point, when did things, I guess, go up a gear?
So I'm sitting I got into the bed and there was, this is your midwife, blah, blah, blah. And they said, okay, so we're going to try and transfer you because you're 30 weeks and 4 days. We look after babies from 32 weeks onwards here. And they said, we can deliver him and he will be okay, but you will then be transferred. And it's easier to transfer you while he's inside you. And it's safer. So we're going to try and do that before. And I'm still kind of like, okay, I was so calm. Like, I think I was just fully delusional. Like, I have no idea. I was just sitting there thinking, this isn't happening.
So I don't even think it's delusional though, Sarah, because I think in that moment, it's amazing how fight
or flight. You just, okay.
It's like that. It's like survival instinct comes in and you're thinking about you, but also somebody else at that point. And I think you almost have to kind of just keep yourself
level.
Yeah, so you check yourself and you're like, right, I need to get to that transfer.
Because if I panicked then and the adrenaline would have kickstarted something even more. So I'm sitting there and I went, right, okay, so do I phone my husband then? Because my husband works near the Royal Infirmary in Edinburgh area. So I thought, is there any point in me phoning him to come here to go all the way back? And they were like, probably not. Wait off. I was like, right, cool. And I wasn't in a lot of pain.
Did you not feel at any point like, I really should tell Ryan that?
Not yet. No, not yet. Not at that point, because I thought, if I'm going to the Royal, there's no point in him going all the way back here to go back.
I know, but did you not think I should phone him and just give him an update?
No, not that part.
I love that.
I think because I just didn't want to panic.
So, I think that's it.
And my mum's there. She's like,
You
"Can I get
probably,
as well?"
am I right in thinking you didn't know what to say?
Yeah, I
You
just
didn't,
kind of
you don't
because
know what update to give.
as well. I didn't want to give him that update and be like, "This is happening," when I think I just thought I was going home still.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there, and then the midwife says, "Have you got a hospital bag packed?" And I was like, "No, I'm 30 weeks pregnant. I've still got 10 weeks to do this." Like, no.
I'm not there yet. Mm-hmm.
And my mum was like, "Right, I'll go and get you things. What do you need?" So she went up Livy Centre and was like running about like a mad woman. Can imagine her. And they gave me some paracetamol and they put me on magnesium.
Yeah.
The drip thing.
Which is painful. See, I found it really
Did you?
painful. Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I'm just
Maybe you're just built more stern stuff.
Yeah.
Than I am.
just built different.
Yeah.
So they gave me paracetamol, but even at that point I was like, I don't really need this, but I'll take it. Like I was okay.
Yeah.
And then they said, we're going to do a test to see if your water's broke, which is just like a pee sample on a stick kind of thing. And yes, it had broke. So that's why I was wet for those couple of days.
Okay.
So that's what it was. Like I said, it was just a tiny bit in the morning. I didn't have any other,
Yeah.
it wasn't throughout the day, nothing.
So when did things, I guess, for you,
Become real?
and you obviously got transferred.
Well, the doctor came in and done a scan to see where his head was at, and he was placed down.
Okay.
So he was head first.
Engaged.
Yeah. And then I had said, when will I get checked to see if I'm dilating anymore? They had said, we're not going to check you until we know where you're going because we do not want to kickstart anything. So this was like, I went into the hospital at 11. So this is maybe like 2:00 at this point.
Yeah.
Ryan still doesn't know. Right. Ryan still doesn't know.
It's just casually going about your
Yeah.
day.
He's at
No
work.
idea.
La-di-da.
It's so mad.
Then another woman comes in. She says, look, there's no beds at the Royal. So we're looking at Kirkcaldy. And I'm like, right, okay, cool. That is what it is.
Mhm.
And then again, she comes in maybe an hour later. She went, oh, when she said there's no beds at the Royal, you should phone your husband. Right, okay. So I phoned Ryan.
And how did you tell him?
I
If you
mean,
don't mind me asking.
I thought he was going to send like one of those Apple Watch texts back, like, sorry, can't take your call right now, right? Because he does that to me sometimes and it annoys me. But obviously he knew I was in hospital, so he answered. But
Yeah.
he was in a meeting, so he had to leave the meeting to answer this phone call. And I was like, he's like, are you okay? And I was like, well, I'm in labour.
Yeah.
Like that.
I just said it just casually.
I just had to say, I'm in labour. And he was like, what? And I went, I'm 2 centimetres dilated. Baby's wanting to come. And he went, does that mean it's going to come, like the baby's going to come in a couple of days? And I went, no.
Good question though, right? Because some
I know.
people are in labour for days. So
Because I had asked this as well. I had said,
Yeah.
like, well, I could be in labour for weeks. Like,
Yeah.
it's one of those things. They were like, no, because your water's broke.
and it's preemie,
Yeah.
usually quicker.
They were kind of just like, it's going to happen in the next 24 hours. And I think that's when I kind of, I don't even know if it hit me then, but I think I was still in the, okay, just,
Matter of fact.
yep, this is happening.
Yeah. And
And then Ryan was like, okay. I went, so you need to come to the hospital now. I said, because there's no beds at the Royal. So you need to come here. I said, we're looking at Kirkcaldy. He went, and you heard his voice shake a little bit then. And he was kind of like, okay, are you okay? And I was like, I'm fine though. Don't worry. Like, I'm okay. Because at this point I was fine. I didn't really, I wasn't like in pain. I think that's what it, like, you see all these films and things and it's just so sudden that they're in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
And I think that's again why I was kind of like, this isn't happening.
But I also think at that point, your body and your mind has got an incredible way of just protecting you.
Yeah.
It's like self-preservation mode, it kicks in.
Yeah.
And actually, you probably had adrenaline. And
Oh,
adrenaline
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
allow you to almost feel.
Yeah, exactly.
So you phoned Ryan.
I
He's gonna
swear
come
to
through.
God, he got from that side of Edinburgh to West Lothian in 30 minutes or less. Like, he was just at the door. I was like, whoa.
When did you eventually get transferred back to?
So about 7
Right.
o'clock they came in and they said
So how long's this?
from 11. So this
Till
is,
7 o'clock at night?
yeah.
Wow.
They
Okay.
said, we've got a bed for you now
Mm-hmm.
at the Royal.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like,
Wow.
okay. So Ryan's came here for no reason. We're going back.
Go back.
But I was like, right, okay, great. And they're like, we're getting an ambulance sorted now. I was like, right. they were like, we're just going to check you. So the doctor came back
Okay.
and checked to see how far along I was. And at that point, he went, you're 4 centimetres.
Okay. So you were then in
Active labour.
Yeah, you're continuing to dilate.
Yeah, I was in active labour at that point.
Yeah.
And he said, shit you not. The words he said were, you're very soft. I could stretch that open.
Oh my God.
And I was like,
Please don't.
yeah, okay, but don't. Like,
I don't think
I could stretch
I
that
don't think
open.
any female ever wants anyone to say, I could stretch that open a bit in there.
What a mood killer.
Would Ryan probably sit there and be like, please don't?
I know, we were both kind of looking at each other like, yeah, well, don't do that. Like, okay, I could stretch that open.
Wow.
And then ambulance came.
So he's meaning your cervix at that point?
Yes, sorry to clarify, my cervix was very, soft, and he could stretch it.
Not your Nuna, just in general. Sorry, when people are going to be like, what's Nuna? That is my word for
Vagina.
vagina.
Which is also the brand of pram I use.
So when Sarah brought her Nuna out for a walk with Felix one day, I was like, I can't look at you straight. I'm really sorry.
So mature.
So talk me through, I guess, fast forward a little bit.
Yeah.
Birth.
Right, so we went to the Royal.
Yeah. In an ambulance, which would have been terrifying.
Yeah. I felt a little bit sick in the ambulance because it was going backwards, I think. Ryan bet us to the hospital. He was there first. I got blue lighted and he's in the room before I got in. They were like, how did you get here first? Like that. And he was like, oh, well.
He knows where he's going.
And then later on, they gave me morphine to go to sleep. Because again, I felt like I didn't need anything else. I was okay pain-wise.
Yeah.
I could handle it. It wasn't like consistent pain. I was having breaks. And don't get me wrong, I'm not being a martyr here. Like, if I was in pain, I would have took whatever they could give me. Like, I'm not that type of person that's like, no, I don't want any pain relief. I would have took that epidural. Like, if I needed it. I had a really long pain at one point, and I did say, I was like, this one's not going away. And the doctor came in, and I was losing a bit of blood at this point. So they were like, right, this could be your placenta detaching. And if it is, we will have to operate straight away.
Okay.
And I said, right. See, at this point, it was getting more real for me. I was kind of like, okay, how do we know that then? And they were like, basically, if you have a lot of blood, or if this pain does not go away, so you need to let us know. In 5 minutes, if that pain's still there, we'll need to go to the ER. Luckily, it did subside. And every time I went to the toilet, I had to get someone to check the blood. So they gave me morphine, and I wasn't really going to take the morphine at first because it can transfer to the baby, and obviously he's very small. So I was kind of like, But they reassured me, and they were like, it's just more to help you sleep because it's going to be a long night, maybe. You don't know how long it's going to take. I said, right, okay. So I slept for 4 hours. I got up, I went to the toilet. By the time I'd walked back to the toilet, I had obviously said, come and check the blood. Went back to the bed. I was in like a bit of pain at that point. I thought, I'm just going to stand up for a bit. I thought, maybe it's time to get more pain relief. Then the doctor came in and she's like, I'm just going to check you anyway. Done the internal, and she went, right, you're 8 centimetres at this point. And I was like, whoa, right, okay.
Wow.
And she went, we're going to have to re-break your waters. And that was horrendous. Oh my God.
Wow. So just straight in.
Yeah. And honestly, I felt like her whole hand, whole arm was up there. Like, it was horrendous. That was the most awful part of this whole thing.
You know what? That's something that well, my waters went like naturally. So I never had to go through that experience.
Well, I
but
had said
I can't imagine
my
what
waters had obviously broken,
but not enough.
Not enough. And the membrane had reformed apparently. So there you go.
Wow. Fun fact. Did not know that.
So once I had the relief of the water come in, that was amazing. I felt class. But I was like,
I feel though, it's like
I could breathe.
But did you not feel a bit like, I feel like I've just wet myself?
At that point, I didn't care.
Okay, cool.
I didn't really care.
I'm here, this is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like,
but I can imagine you'd also feel a bit like, well, I'm progressing.
Yeah. This is when it was real. But when the water stopped, literally, like the water stopped and she went, you're 10 centimetres. I did not have any time to think about anything. They went, we're going to have to take you to theatre. We're still pushing for a natural birth, but it's the safest place to be. And at that point, I just started crying my eyes out.
And did you not have any urge?
No urge to push.
Nothing.
I didn't have that.
Okay.
So I'm getting wheeled to theatre and I am crying my eyes out at this point. I am full panicking then because I'm like, right, this is happening. Ryan's holding my hand and like we're going. We get into theatre and there's people talking to me. There's like people. By the way, one point Ryan is in his normal clothes. I look up, next minute he's in his scrubs and a hat. And I'm like, whoa, when did you even let go of my hand? Like,
and also seeing them in scrubs is a really, really strange vision.
It was a strange one.
Nothing for that.
It was like a magic trick.
But also, nobody talks about this, right? So if you have to have a C-section or get like a placenta removal, so if there's any reason to be in theatre and your other half gets to join you, they take the guys into a little room and basically say to them, here's some scrubs, put them on.
Yeah.
And nobody tells you to, like, to prepare them
for that.
And I actually think that is a big myth because I remember Paul saying, my husband's quite tall, so he's 6'2", and he went in and he was like, a lot of the scrubs were
too small. Cats are dead walking in like.
He's like, all I could think was, I'm going to be wearing like pedal pushers into theatre. And how quickly they tell you get stuff on.
Yeah.
So
honestly, I have no idea when he done it. I still don't know. Like, I
honestly,
still have no idea. I didn't even think he let go of my hand. Like, do you know what I mean? It was just strange.
Okay, so you're in theatre.
Loads of people are like, I'm this person, I'm that person. And one, I don't care. Sorry, I don't care who you are. Like, at that point, okay, I'm not going to remember this. Like, and then the doctor's also telling me, right, I need 2 big pushes from you. So I'm trying to push.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
No one tells you where you're pushing from either.
Yeah, I'm trying to push. And then they said, right, he's not coming down, he's in distress. And it literally just went, Sarah, you're going to have to be put under. Ryan, you're going to have to leave. We're going to have to do emergency C-section. And that was it. And at that point, I stopped crying again. I just went, okay. I looked at Ryan. Ryan looked at me. He went, love you. I went, love you. I went, you okay? And he went, okay. Oh, you're making me.
Sorry.
Megan's getting a little teary, so it's obviously making me cry because I cry at everything. And then they gave me a drink to alkali the acid in your stomach.
That's right. I thought you were just going to say.
Just a little drink. Here's a shot.
Give me a drink.
They gave me a shot. Pretty much it was a shot. They were like, you need to drink this really quickly.
Wow.
And my first thought when they said that was like, oh, I cannot down drinks. You have not seen me do a tequila shot. Like, no chance.
Yeah.
It will hit,
bad gag reflex.
Yeah, it will hit my stomach and come straight back up. Like, that's what I thought. But I'd done it as fast as I could. People again are still saying their names to me. And I'm just like, okay. The midwife's like, I'm going to be here the whole time. Like, right. Then obviously the mask goes on, count to whatever. And I was like.
Did they say why Ryan had to leave?
Because I was sedated.
Okay.
That's what happens if you are put under. The man has to leave.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Then he got asked, you want to come and meet your baby? So he met Felix before I was even awake.
Wow.
When the baby was out. And we got pictures of it and that, and he's in like a little plastic bag, so we joke that he looks like a little roast chicken.
For those who don't have or haven't had a NICU journey, or those who are going through it and have just gone through that should have come with a trigger warning.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, we both have pictures of our little ones when they were born. And when they're born, just to give a bit of context as well, they're put in, it is a plastic bag.
Yeah,
it's obviously essentially a clinical bag.
It's for their temperature.
They can regulate their temperature. But they look like
little roast chickens.
chickens. Right.
Chicken in a bag.
If you don't laugh, you'll cry.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
So you asked Ryan, he said he just felt like that time went really, really quickly.
Yep.
And okay. So
a blur for him.
You woke up. You're a mum.
I thought that the doctor was shouting at me. She was like, Sarah, Sarah. And I thought like she was literally shouting in my face. And I got such a fright. When I woke up, I got such a fright. And then Ryan's there as well, still in his gown and his hat.
Are you in recovery?
No, still. Well, honestly, couldn't tell you. I have no idea. I was so drugged up. Yeah. I have no idea. And I was trying, when I eventually opened my eyes and I was trying to speak, nothing was coming out. It was just, if you've seen Wolf of Wall Street, when he's on those drugs and he's trying to get to the car and he thinks he's making total sense.
It's none at all.
That is literally what I was like. I was trying to say, is he okay? I was trying to get that out.
But that also must feel like, the only way I could probably like relate to that is imagine when you're in a dream
Yeah.
and you think you're trying to say something,
you're
trying to ask
shouting.
for help,
You're trying
and
to
then
shout.
you can't get the words
That's
out.
literally what it was like. In my head, I was saying, is he okay? Totally fine.
Yeah,
But Ryan was like, you were making no sense.
at all.
Until I tried maybe the
Wow.
4th time. And then
It came out.
the doctor couldn't understand it. They were like, what? And Ryan went, he's okay. Like, he's okay. And I was
Funny
like,
how
right.
he could understand your
Yeah,
gibberish.
yeah. Because I just talk that much shit anyway. He's just used to it.
So, fast forward, coming round after your anaesthetic, you're a bit.
Yeah, I was so drugged up. Then he
That
rolled
must have felt
me.
so surreal.
Yeah, they rolled me to the NICU.
Yeah. So you didn't get to hold him,
No,
right?
or not straight away. He didn't get to hold them either. Like, we got to the NICU.
Mm-hmm.
They wheeled the bed next to the incubator. Sorry, I keep hitting this mic. I'm sorry if that keeps talk with my hands a lot. Which obviously doesn't help you listeners out there, but I do. Yep, next to the incubator, and everything's still obviously very blurry for me. It's quite like, well, I'm high as a kite, really. And they are basically saying, this is your baby. And I'm kind of thinking, what? Like, no. Like, it's such a strange feeling, like, that I have to just believe that this is my baby.
A bit disconnect.
Yeah, complete. And then obviously I'm just crying my eyes out because one, it's just so overwhelming. I'm really high on drugs. I have no idea what's happening. And then they bring him out and put him on my chest. So we have skin to skin and see these photos. Oh my God, I do not know who that girl is.
Oh my God.
That woman is not me. That woman is
So
not
you
me.
don't love those photos?
No, not for that reason.
No, but I love them.
Yeah,
So I love these photos of the three of you,
yeah.
because they're real.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really blotchy. My skin is a mess. I never went in with spots. I came out with spots on my face. No idea
They're
how that
black
happened.
and white, the ones I've seen, so you don't see
Yeah,
that.
because I made that happen. My nose is very red in those. Yeah, like that. So that happened. He's skin to skin, and I'm in, and I feel like I'm still going in and out of consciousness. Do you know what I mean? We get some the photos and stuff like that. Felix has got CPAP machines, wires on him. He's tiny. He was 3 pounds too. So that's like a bag of sugar.
It's mad.
Like, he could fit in the palm of my hand. Like, it was just, thinking back, like, it is just traumatic in itself, that it's not what you envisioned, but the cards that you're dealt, isn't it?
Yeah.
You just have to deal with it. But it's
your journey.
yeah, it is.
And actually, so you're in the NICU.
Tears again.
You're in the NICU. I'm impressed you haven't cried that much compared to now. I actually thought you'd cry a lot more than this, so I'm really, really impressed.
Proud of me.
You're in the NICU. And something that I think, again, isn't taught often enough is how quickly they start to talk to you about expressing.
Yes.
So they quite quickly turn around and say,
Yeah, I went back up to the ward,
okay, she went back to,
and then a woman came in and said,
because that's another thing
They
people
gave
also
me-
don't tell you. You're separated from them.
yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, I had to go back up to the ward. He's down in the NICU.
Did you have a private room?
No.
So you were in a bay.
Yes.
Oh, Sarah.
Yeah. But what I will say is that the midwives on that ward were really, really nice.
Mm-hmm.
God.
So for context,
There's people around you in labour or with their babies.
beside them, they're caught.
Yeah. Oh, goodness.
And I know that, right? And I know how that feels, which is why I was like, I think we need to talk about this, because I don't think people appreciate, whether you have had a journey like ours or just a normal journey, it's something that's it's like the elephant in the room. I think people need to be really aware when they do have a baby, as much as you're in your baby bubble, right?
So sorry, I was smiling because I'm so aware that I am ugly crying right now.
I think you're a good crier. You're not like Kim
no.
K, you're fine. But yeah, I feel like I feel like people do not appreciate, and I get why you wouldn't, right? You're in your own bubble and whatever. But actually, when you're in a bay with other mums, there will be mums potentially in your bay that have not got their babies with them.
Yeah.
And actually that is soul destroying. Like that, I don't think anything quite prepares you for that feeling.
Yeah. But see, at the time, I don't even really think I registered it too much because you're trying to wrap your head around the fact that he's here. He still shouldn't even be here.
Yeah.
And I think it was all just very quick. And I ended up not spending that much time on the ward. And I was that exhausted that when I was asleep, I was like asleep. Do you know what I mean? So I wasn't hearing babies crying. I was okay.
You're not hearing the things that you don't have.
Yeah, I feel like it affects me more now, thinking about it. But they were very nice. They were trying to get me a room. But they warned me, like, there's a woman coming up with her baby now. Like, if I was there, they would come and tell me that. So they were very nice.
Most babies, when they're in the NICU, as a mum, you just feel like, I need to be with them.
Yeah.
And how hard that must be. But where you find the grit in yourself to just be like, I'm getting up.
You just run on pure adrenaline.
You do. But also, I think you run on, like, pure determination.
Yeah.
A wee bit. Around,
Yeah, it's just it's that mum instinct. You just have to be there. Like, that's the most natural place for that baby to be is with me. So, for both of us. But that's just how it ended up. I will preface and say that Felix was totally fine. Like, he was off his oxygen and stuff within 2 days.
Yeah.
Medically, he was okay. There was nothing...
Clinically.
Yeah, there was nothing wrong. He just needed to grow. So we were
he wanted to come out a little bit early.
We were very, very lucky in that sense.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we'll hear about your story next week.
A lot of it, and we'll talk about this in other episodes in the podcast, a lot of it is when you go through that journey, very few people can relate to that journey.
Yes.
And you've had your baby, but a lot of people don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Or how to say something, when to say something. And that is where friendship is really important if you meet somebody who goes through that similar journey. Because we would see each other in the corridors.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, how are you?
Yeah.
And you could just be honest and be like, oh, today's
We've seen each other at our complete lowest.
Yeah.
Like,
or a high.
Yeah.
When you got transferred. I remember that.
Yeah.
You know, it was like that feeling of excitement. There's so many milestones. So as you say, he clinically just needed to grow a bit.
Yeah.
And he did that. And how long was he in, I guess, intensive care for, and then in the Royal High Dependency before he was transferred?
He was in high, like the NICU first room. There's like 3 different rooms that you go into. He was in that room for, I want to say 8 days.
Yeah. Okay.
8 days. And then he got moved into special care, which was the other room across the hall.
You graduate.
Yep. And he was only in that room for 2 days. And then he was in the nursery room, which is the room before they go home, really. But that was only because he didn't need any special care. He was okay. He just needed fed, changed. He didn't have any medicine to get, except from like his vitamins. And we were just in that room. And that's when they wanted to transfer us to our closer hospital, St John's, from when he was 32 weeks, because that's when they look after him.
Yeah.
And they wanted to move us there. I'm so blocked up now because I've had a cry. I'm so sorry.
We're both going to sound really snotty in this first episode.
Horrendous. And then I wasn't ready to move because it all happened very quickly, this moving into different rooms. And obviously I was still trying to wrap my head around what even had happened, that he was here. So we ended up staying at the Royal for 2.5 weeks. And I stayed in a family room for, I want to say, just under 2 weeks.
Okay.
Like I was in the Royal for just under 2 weeks. I hadn't went home. And then when you went, that's another like milestone that we'll talk about at one point, is going home and leaving your child there, which is horrendous.
Yeah.
But then when we did move to St John's, there isn't a room to stay at the hospital there. It's closer to home, yes, but I couldn't drive because of my C-section. So you're relying on people to take you to and from. Ryan was still working because he didn't want to take his paternity when he's in the hospital and there's nothing we can do. Like, yeah, it was hard looking back. So we were in St John's for 3.5 weeks. And then we got home. So total of 6 weeks. He was 6 weeks old on the dot, like that day when we got home.
And the best day ever.
Yeah. It was a strange, surreal day.
You rang that bell.
Yeah.
And for those that don't know, when you are discharged from the NICU, there is a bell and you ring it and it's like, we're going home.
Yeah. And thing is, you say 6 weeks and it doesn't sound that long.
Oh, no.
But see, when you're in it, God, it felt like a year. Like,
But it also it does feel quick.
yeah, the days are long,
Yeah.
the weeks are short. We'll speak about that as well at different points where there's just, you move forward 2 steps and you're back 3 at different points, and you start getting frustrated, and you don't want to be frustrated with them because they're already an overachiever. They're already here quickly.
I love how you say that they're an overachiever. They are.
They're overachievers. They're here. He's working so hard to grow outside me. Like, and he did it. Like,
and he's doing it without you.
Yeah.
He's doing it on his own.
Uh-huh.
What advice would you give to yourself? Now knowing what you've been through. Back to that, Sarah, when I asked you that original question, what did you think about labour? What did you think about birth?
Yeah.
What advice would you give yourself?
For the whole NICU journey, I would say it's okay to feel like that. Because that is shit. Like, it's shit. There's, and loads of people will say, stay strong, like, you can do this, be positive. If you want to just sit and say, this is shit, like, it's shit.
It's okay to not, that phrase, it's okay not to be okay. Like, I remember the number of times we would voice note and you'd be like, Megs, this is just really, really rubbish.
Yeah, it is, it's rubbish.
And it's okay to sit with that emotion.
Yeah.
Don't try and make it better. So just almost just ride with the emotion.
Yeah, you have to feel it.
Yeah. And it's valid.
Yeah. God, and I'm crying again.
But also, I think I would tell yourself.
You would tell me.
Yeah, I would tell you.
Right?
That you've got this.
You did tell me that.
You have got this, and you're going to come out the other side of this a really strong person, stronger than you could ever have imagined.
Yeah.
And you're going to be the best fecking mum out there. That's what I'd tell you. And also, they didn't actually have to stretch anything down below. Thank God.
Yeah, they didn't stretch anything. You're okay. They didn't stretch that open. You are okay.
Silver linings, right?
Hey, you have to take the wins. That's one thing as well.
Take the win.
Take the wins. And take
Your new nat is okay.
Yeah. I didn't get stretch marks. Class.
Yeah.
I don't have a sore back anymore. Class. I didn't have to go
Jealous.
through the 3rd trimester really, really uncomfortable in the heat. Class.
Yeah.
Like, you have to take those positives. You have to laugh about parts of it as well. That's my advice. Like, yeah, there's going to be some low moments here, but it's okay to laugh. It's okay.
Yeah.
And it's going to be okay. Like, anyone that's going through that right now,
there's light.
yeah, there's hope. Like, keep going.
And you're not on your own. There are other
Yeah.
people out there. And I think
Speak to that mum next to you.
get their number
Yeah.
and just say,
This is rubbish.
can we do this together?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of power behind coming together,
Yeah.
I think. Whew.
Oh, that was heavy at the end. Sorry. And I was so blocked up.
But I'm proud of you. Right.
Wow.
Wow.
So that was my story.
Before we wrap up, we have one segment of this podcast that we want to do recurringly,
Yes.
which is mum guilty pleasures.
Yes. You go first.
Oh, I knew you were going to do that. Oh, right, okay.
How bad are we going to be? You go first.
So, mum guilty pleasures. I'm going to do. So, in fact, I'll give the context behind this.
Yeah, okay.
Right. So, Sarah and I were chatting about what are the things that are your guilty pleasures being a mum, and they can be something as simple as sharing something that you've got into. So it could be you've got into a Netflix series. It could be you have got into a podcast, or it could just be something that you have just got real pleasure from. And it's the simple things in life, and you want to share it and be real.
Yeah.
So I asked Sarah the other day, "What's your guilty pleasure?" And she shared it, and she's like, "What is yours?" Oh, and I actually don't know how I want to put this out there because I feel like this.
Do it. Do it.
My mum is going to see this. Like,
Oh, Megan.
so, okay, first guilty pleasure I would say is a Netflix series that you recommended, which is Nobody Wants This.
Oh, Adam Brody, eat your heart out.
Yeah, I'll have a little bit of rabbi in my life, please. Very, very good. If you haven't watched it, get on it. It's very good.
For those OC lovers,
mhm.
Seth Cohen is all grown up.
Yeah, and it's just good.
Yeah, it's really
for
good.
the soul. So that'd be get on this. Nobody wants this. And my other guilty pleasure. So I'm going to say the one that I actually had today.
Yeah.
My one I had today was my guilty pleasure is actually being able to have a shower, wash my hair, and dry my hair in frickin' peace.
Peace, yeah.
So I said to Sarah, I haven't washed my hair in a week. This is the first time I've washed my hair.
Do what you gotta
It did
do.
not look like this. I'm not saying it looks good just now, but it looks a hell of a lot better than it did before this morning, and I washed it. That was my guilty pleasure this morning, was actually drying my hair and giving myself a bit of a blowout with nobody crying in the background.
Yeah. I think mine is, and I think everyone's probably the same at one point, is sitting in a dark room in silence, dim scrolling for half an hour.
Peace.
Yeah. No white noise.
Nothing.
Because that can, it physically hurts your ears some points. Like it gets to the point where your ears like vibrate, and I'm like, wow. But yeah, that's mine. Silence in a dark room.
I like that.
Well done, you. Proud of you.
But anyway, it has been a pleasure.
Yes.
And I'm really proud of us.
No, well done us. Well done us getting it out of the group chat.
We're literally 4 minutes before we're meant to finish.
Oh, look at that.
I mean, I think we did start a little bit late, but
we're
that's
right on time.
right on time. So we're going to wrap up.
And we'll see you next time.
Yeah, so make sure you subscribe.
Like and do all those things.
Yeah, tune in. And
Our socials as well is right.ontime podcast on Instagram.
Yeah.
We haven't posted anything yet, but we will.
Going to after this. And thank you for listening. Thank you for sitting with us. And
We hope this helps you.
if not, we've just, you know what, if anything, it's been a nice 2 hours of us getting a bit of us time.
Yeah.
Guilty pleasure is this.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Love you. Bye.